when I wrote my story and when we write our stories, we give our lives meaning. We give our lives a purpose. We give our lives a frame, some kind of a order that it didn't have before. And that's what this book has done for me.
Hello, I'm Laziena. Welcome to the Breaking the Cycle podcast. And I am here with Janet. We have been trying our very hardest to get on a podcast, and here we are. Yes, did it.
Finally. Yes.
Finally. I'm so excited. I want to say, especially on camera while we're recording, absolutely adore you. Um, I
That's
remember.
what to say, right?
Yes. I remember when I first met you in the course. I don't think I said anything to you the first time, but it was the second time I warmed up a little bit. I got my feet wet. Like, who are you? What's up? So of course I always talk about the course so much. It's one of my favorite plays. So I'm happier when I have a person from the course on my podcast because then it's like, yay, we're doing things together.
Yes, and we speak the same language. Absolutely.
That is the best part, speaking the same language. Oh my god,
Yes.
so yummy. Now, the very first thing I usually like to ask our guests on breaking the cycle is, how are you breaking the cycle in your life?
Breaking the cycles in my life.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of them. I tried to get to them all, but I can't. But I think for me in my life, it was really kind of obvious because my parents, I'm a first generation immigrant from Cuba, and I just automatically felt like I had advantages that my parents didn't have. I spoke the language, I grew up here, I understood the systems in place. So I felt like, why would I continue something? The whole point of coming here was upward mobility. That was the whole point of coming here. So how could I not, in other
Yeah.
words? How can I not? So whatever I saw in my life that I didn't like, I'm like, okay, let's change it. How do we change it? We're here in the land of opportunity. This is the time. This is the
Yeah.
place.
How old were you when you moved here?
I came when I was 3. I was very small.
Oh, wow. That's amazing because your formidable years were here. I love that you saw it that way, though. Like, it's a land of opportunity. Let's do it differently. That's really
Oh yeah, absolutely. If you talk to any Cuban, there's a young guy in on SNL on Saturday Night Live that
yeah.
he's Cuban and he has a whole stand-up routine about it.
Oh, I gotta,
You don't waste opportunities.
yeah.
When you're here and you're Cuban, you're like, oh, this is it. Chop chop. This is the
Yeah.
time.
It's time to go. Yeah. I was 13 when I came, so I felt like I was scared at first, but now it's more like I appreciate it that I came. I'm glad that I had the opportunities. I didn't take advantage of them when I was younger. I was still stuck in my victimhood, woe is me being a teenager.
I was just gonna say, but every teenager's like that. I mean, I was like that too. I'm saying in retrospect, but
Mm.
at the time I didn't see it that way. Of course, I'm not that insightful. It was also I had to. I had to because my parents were both in and out of jail and just put themselves in really bad situations. And I was like, I cannot do that. I will not do that with my life. Absolutely not. So it wasn't just that, it was other stuff too, you
I
know?
understand.
Absolutely.
I think especially since we speak the same language, we understand how generational trauma gets passed on and how, that cycle happens. So it's like when we're looking back at it now, I understand why everything happened the way it is. We're not living in it. We're more present and looking back at, okay, well, I got the lesson and I got the gratitude from it. So I'm not, you know, re in redigesting that those
You're not making the same mistake over and over
yeah,
again. At least we're
yeah.
trying not to, right?
Right. And that's huge. That's a really big way of breaking the cycle. But before I get too deep into everything, I know we were talking earlier about I think I said something about like I always made plans and I would say I want to do this and I want to do that, but then I end up not doing it and not taking action. And now I am. But there was a time when I got married as soon as I was 18 years old
Mm,
and I championed my husband over myself. I
of
got
course.
married again after 6 years. I got a divorce and I got remarried, and that time for 12 years. And in both of those marriages, and then I had a boyfriend after that marriage. So it was like kept putting so much of, I think I learned that a woman's role is to support the men. And so I gave up on a lot of me so that I can, yeah, you know what I mean?
Sure. Especially if you're a mom, you're used to giving it up, you're used to putting everyone else before yourself. Absolutely.
So it was like that kind of stunted my growth opportunities until I, really went to the course and realized how I was limiting myself and sleeping on myself until I started to like, oh, there's actually things about me that are really cool and I get to embody it and share it and be with people. Yeah.
Yes. And when I make myself happy, amazing things happen
Yes. Oh
instead
my
of worrying
God.
about making everyone else happy.
Yeah. It's like the self-abandonment no longer has a hold. Like, oh, I'm not
No.
abandoning myself anymore.
But it's so common with us women. It's so common,
Mhm. Yeah.
unfortunately. And we think we're doing our marriage a favor, but then one day the dam breaks and everything you worked for just
And it's hard to rebuild after that too, like, it's not as easy.
it takes time. Each time it takes a little bit out of you. You're a little older.
Mhm.
But I think, at least for me, I think I'm in a really good place because I am done having kids. I'm done with the dream of the perfect family with the white picket fence and the 2.5 kids. Like, that's done. So now I can do anything
Yeah.
because I already checked that off the list. It didn't work, but I checked it off the list. Like, now I can travel, I can write my book, I can join a women's group, can learn how to sail,
Yeah.
whatever,
Whatever you feel like doing.
and it's kind of a strange freedom. It's something your nervous system, or at least my nervous system, like you say,
Mm.
not used to. And I remember my therapist told me when I first got divorced, you need to wait. You need to wait to date. And I'm like, but why? And now that I waited, I see it, right?
Good.
Because now my nervous system is used to peace, calm, so that if anything enters that is not peace and calm,
It's like, "Ooh,
I I can spot it, right?
yes."
Because at least when you're married, I feel like it happens slowly. It's like one drop a day until the bucket overflows, but you don't see it while it's happening. And, now that I have peace and calm, it's really nice.
Yeah.
It's really, really nice. And it's not something I'm willing to give up.
I so agree with that sentiment. I feel like, there was a space where after my second divorce, I was really intentional with the relationship that I was getting into after that. And then when that rug got pulled out from under me with that one, it was like a big like wake up call. And I actually waited and worked on myself and waited for the person to come back. And when they did come back, it just wasn't gonna work at all. And now I'm like, why am I don't have that desire anymore to be in a relationship. I'm not saying that I wouldn't be open to one, but it has to be the right relationship. I'm like,
Mhm.
I've been married and I've been committed and devoted. Now it's time for me to give that to myself. Like,
Yes, yes. And if it's a relationship that supports us in our goals, that we now know what they are, because sometimes we don't even know what our goals are. Our goals are the goals of the other person.
yes.
And but now that I'm in my space, I'm like, oh, I have my own goals. And if it's someone who helps support me in those goals, then that's a different story. But that kind of yearning, it's almost like an addiction, Lazina. I call it like love crack
Yeah.
because, right? Like, you just feel like it hurts on the inside when you don't
Yes.
have it. Like,
The
it sounds
codependent.
ridiculous now that I'm saying it out loud, but
But I know you're right.
it's true. We can't imagine living life without that person when in reality, relationships come and go.
Yeah.
And that's the wonderful thing that I feel about aging
Mhm.
is it's not looked upon very well in this country, but I really appreciate aging. I
Yeah.
would not go back to being who I was when I was in my 20s had I have no,
No.
absolutely not. The mistakes that we make and the misjudgments when we were in our 20s. Girl, no.
Yeah. I hear you. I see you. I know you.
There's a book called The Nice Girl Syndrome, That is a very good book, and it helped me as a woman figure out how we got here. How did we get to this nice place where we have to be nicey nice and we can't speak up? No wonder we get molested and all these things because we have to be nice and we have to listen to authority and. But sometimes that those boundaries, those lines get smudged, right?
I like what you said. There's like this stigma. I feel like if you're a single woman, it means that you should be dating. And I'm like, no, I'm okay.
No, absolutely. I get it. I get it. I used to be that person judging the single woman going, "Aw, I feel bad for her. I feel bad for her that they're not in a relationship."
Yeah.
And now I feel like, girl, they had the secret. Here I was thinking I had something and they didn't, and it's like the opposite. You know what I mean? Because now there's no clock. It's not ticking. It's the rest of my life is mine.
Yeah.
I gotta save a little bit for my kids because I gotta finish raising them.
Yeah. They're always gonna have it, right?
But yeah, yeah. But I learned a really important lesson, and that is if I am not happy, there's no way my kids can be happy. Like in a marriage, it just can't happen.
Yeah.
You can't raise happy kids if you're miserable,
Yeah. That's a very profound way of saying it. You're absolutely right. I felt it. I felt it. Well,
right?
we are speaking about goals, and one of the really cool thing is that I want to talk to you about more is about your book that's it's gonna be
Yay!
released January 10th.
Yay!
January 10th is a great day for me. It was my my grandmother's birthday. So it's always a memorable day. And I had a doggy, and he was born January 10th as well.
Wonderful!
It's like a really cool day. So when you said January 10th, I'm like, oh my God, I'm going to forever remember that that was the day that the book was
Yay!
released.
Fantastic.
Yeah. And we've been having some adventures with this book cover.
We sure have, haven't we?
Yeah. But I mean, I just love that you're telling your story. Please share what inspired this book, what inspired it, what made you decide to finally, I'm going to write it.
Well, I had a lot of journal entries. Writing is one of the ways that helps me cope.
Hmm.
So I had a lot of journal entries from like COVID because there really wasn't anything else to do. I got tired of watching TV, so I would just hop on the computer and think about something that happened and just kind of put it out. And then my therapist kept pushing me and pushing me and pushing me after years. She's like, "Your story could be an inspiration to a lot of people. You really have to write it, right?" She just got on me so much that I said, "Okay, fine, fine." And the wonderful thing is, I mean, so many things, so many wonderful things have happened as a result,
Hmm.
right? But number one, it's gotten really good reviews. So it's really resonating with people, which is good. I really didn't expect that. I just wanted to vomit out my story, get it out, give it a place, give it a place. But and let me say this, and I really believe this with every ounce of my being. I think we all have a story. We
Yes.
all have a story that's worth writing. It's not just me. And not only do we all have a story, but when I wrote my story and when we write our stories, we give our lives meaning. We give our lives a purpose. We give our lives a frame, some kind of a order, that it didn't have before. And that's what this book has done for me. I think it's been wonderful. It's been cathartic. It's helped me connect things that I didn't even
Yeah.
connect, things that I was like, oh my gosh, the fact that my grandfather's name was Felix and he was an alcoholic, and I married a guy named Felix and he was an alcoholic. I'm like, how did I not make those connections? You know?
I understand.
So that has been amazing.
Mhm.
And the other amazing part was that people that were longtime little boxes faces on my Facebook that I know, but I haven't spoken to in ages, reached back out to me because they're in the book. And they were like, oh my gosh. And I'm just so honored that you wrote about me. And people have wanted to reconnect with me. It's been cool. It's almost like, and I don't mean to sound morbid, but it was almost like I died. And people are telling me how they felt about me.
Yeah.
Like it was my funeral and
You're at
people
your
were
funeral. I love that. Oh my
so that's
God.
been really, really neat. I did not expect that.
That's really cool. I'm so glad that you wrote it. I mean, I just came off of writing mine too, and I understand that feeling of purpose. Like it's so important to name what we're experiencing. The voice,
100%.
it is truly healing. Sometimes we go around and we're feeling this heaviness, And it's like, well, some people will say journal. At first, I was like, I don't want to journal. I hate journaling. I don't want to write. When I really started doing it, I was like, oh, I see why this is important.
Mhm.
It's first, it has a place for my thoughts to go. Once
Yeah.
that's been cleared out, I can look at all of the things that I wrote. I didn't even know that was in there. But when you're writing your story, that is a transformational experience.
Yeah.
It's not
100.
just words on a book. It's like this is lived experience.
Yeah, I almost feel, and again, I don't mean to sound morbid, but I'm like, okay, I can die now. Like, because my story won't die with me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's out there. It'll be there for my kids, for anybody that wants to know who I was. It's there. You know what it is, Lazina,
Mhm.
is that I'm a cancer nurse. I'm an oncology nurse.
Yeah.
So I think about death
Oh,
constantly.
yeah.
And not in a bad way, not in a bad way, just in a matter of fact kind of next stage of life kind of way.
Yeah.
So, but it doesn't scare me, and it doesn't scare me, and I should give that disclaimer. It doesn't scare me. If anything, it gives me purpose because it gives me like, okay, it constantly reminds me that, hey, if I died today or if I died tomorrow, what do I want my legacy to be? How do I want people to remember me? How do I want my kids to remember me? And those are the things that I think are invaluable. They're gifts that I get from my job that you can't put a price on.
And I like that that's the mindset you have too, because being a cancer nurse, you are literally witnessing life's end in so many different fact of situations. And the guy, I had a podcast guest right before our call, and he's a cancer survivor, and he's just kind of out there telling his story, telling people, sharing what he knows. It's so true. There is something greater on the other side of what we've gone through, what we've been through, what we are going through. It is not the end. There's so much more.
No, no. And in fact, if you have 2 minutes, I'll tell you an amazing story
I
that
have
happened
more than 2 minutes. You got like
with
30.
my book. Okay, perfect. I got to tell you the best story about my book. So, it came out the first time in October, and I was having all kinds of little panic attacks because I was like, oh my gosh, did I do the right thing? I'm airing all this dirty laundry about all these people in my family. And it's not dirty laundry. It's how I felt about these events that actually happened.
Yes, your experience.
But it felt like, someone could take it that way. And right around that time, I forgot about it. I was looking for Halloween decorations and I happened to come across one box that used to belong to my grandmother. And the whole book is dedicated to my grandmother, by the way. It's the story of how she raised me when my parents were off doing God knows what in the cocaine cowboy 80s and, on and on and on, right? So the whole book is dedicated to her, and I was having these panic attacks. All of a sudden, I find that picture, the second one that I sent you, of me looking out the window, almost looking like I'm searching for the silver lining.
Yeah.
And it just gave me such peace because it made me feel like that was her. That was her saying, hey, it's okay. I support you.
Yeah.
You've always been doing this, like, let me remind you that you've always been this way. And that's how I took it. I was telling my friend this story and I took a picture of the picture to send it to her. And when I sent her that, it even looks more so like someone's has their arm over my shoulder, like they're saying, hey. And it's really just a reflection of my hand taking a
Yeah.
picture. But I didn't do it on purpose. You know what I
Right.
mean? When you look at that one, it looks like someone has their hand over my shoulder saying, hey, it's okay. It's okay. Furthermore, it gets way better. Did I tell you the story, Lazina?
No, this is the first time I'm hearing it.
Okay, furthermore, my publishing company, the reason why we're doing all of this over again, my publishing company, they're jerks, I'm over them, but they were just charging me for everything, including the International Book Fair. They asked me if I wanted to be in their booth at the International Book Fair. They wanted like $4,000 from me. I'm like, these people are crazy. There's no way.
Janet, hold on one second.
Sure, sure.
Sasha's mom. Sasha's mom? Yeah. Come in and say hello.
Hi, that's Asian, right?
Yeah.
Hi, oh my God. That's always so cool. I wish Sasha was here so she could see it. That's awesome.
We're recording right now. Yeah.
Um, when are you gonna be done?
Maybe in about 30 minutes.
Can you take me to Natalie's doctor?
Yes. Love you.
Okay, love you too.
See you later. She was in the middle of telling me about something. I'm leaving all of that in. Okay. please.
That's okay.
Go back
That's
to your furthermore story.
Anyway, so the International Book Fair is held at Miami-Dade Wolfson Campus, which is downtown here in Miami. And my grandmother used to live in this like old fogey building there, right in that campus, right? But the book fair is blocks and blocks long. So I'm giving, the publisher tells me, do I want to be in their booth for $4,000? I'm like, hell no, I'm not doing that. But I go to the Museum of Cuban Diaspora to give them my deposit for the launch party. And they're like, hey, we're going to be at the book fair this weekend. Do you want to be in our booth for free? And I'm like, yes, of course. And when I get to the book fair, the booth is right in front of the entrance of the building where my grandmother used to live.
Oh my
Like,
god.
right there, right there. And I mean, the list just goes on and on of things that happened that day that just let me know that she was still there with me, always there with me. In fact, that was a Sunday. On Monday, I walk into work, and mind you, I'm a pediatric nurse. I do pediatrics.
Mm.
My patient happened to be, I walked into work on Monday morning, and my patient was a nun. A nun. And my grandmother was like a devout Catholic. She's always
Yeah,
talking about the nuns where she grew up and the nuns and the nuns and the nuns. And I'm like, what are the chances, right? That I'm going to go into work and I'm going to have an adult and that adult is going to happen to be a nun. Like that never happens. And Laziena, I can only, I can go on and on for all the coincidences and all the serendipities that have happened around this book. It's been really cool.
it's
That's all I can say.
divine guidance. Oh my god, that's beautiful. Thank you for sharing that.
There was several things like that that were just letting me know that I was on the right path, you know.
Yeah, and when it's reinforced too, like I have such a love for my grandparents as well. My father's parents, especially specifically, they're my heroes, And so everything that I embody, what I always say, I learned compassion from them before my limiting beliefs set in. So it kind of gave me a little extra something, But
Grandparents just have a patience for us that our parents just simply don't have
yeah,
because of inexperience, because of whatever, you know what I mean? And not every grandparent, I know there's horror stories out there, but I can only speak personally, and my grandparents were
yeah,
amazing, and I'm only so grateful that I was able to have them in my life.
yeah.
100%. I agree with you for sure.
Yeah. Now, I do wanna ask, because I think you mentioned something about the curly hair in the
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm. Mhm. No, that, I talk about in the book, one of the things that I talk about is, the struggle that we have when we don't agree with our grandparents' beliefs and we don't agree with, my grandmother was a big racist. I love her, but
Mine
she was a
too.
big racist and she used to love me because I was especially white and I had green eyes and blonde
Oh,
curly hair. She used to call me Shirley Temple when
okay.
I was little. As I grew up, we ended up moving into a neighborhood here in Miami called Alapata, which is not the best neighborhood. And, there was a lot of, ethnic people from all over the
Mhm.
world, really, but a lot of black people. And she used to call me the queen of the jungle.
Oh, my lord.
Yes, ma'am. And the whole, I say this in the book a lot, and it's just like, it is completely possible. This is when I learned that it's completely possible to love somebody and disagree with their
Yeah.
beliefs. And I think we've lost sight of that a little bit, you know, especially with all the political upheaval and turmoil that's happened in the last few years. It's like we shouldn't argue with our family over political beliefs because as a family elder told me, and I put it in the book as well, honey, governments come and go. Family is forever.
Mm.
And isn't that the truth?
Totally. 100%.
Yeah. And I don't know if your immigration story has anything like this, but when we left, the people that left were called deserters, they were called worms.
Mhm.
They were really looked upon as, abandoning the revolution and really unpatriotic. A few years later, they had to stick their tail between their legs and ask us to send them things
Yeah.
because Russia collapsed and the support that communist Cuba had up until that point collapsed. There
Yeah.
was no food. It was a big deal and they had to resort to, and now the way that Cuba is now, it's a shame. It's worse than Haiti. There's no power there. The food shortages are, ridiculous. And even when you get the food, you can't put it in the fridge because there's going to be a shortage and it's going to spoil. So I don't know how people are living there right now, And the whole point, that even though all the things that happened when we came, my parents getting involved in drugs and getting in jail and all these things that happened, I believe that ultimately it was worth it for me because here I am, Here I am and I'm able to help the people back home. I'm still able to do that. So even with all that, it was still a blessing. It was worth it. I wouldn't give it up for the world.
That's beautiful, and I'm glad that you're looking at it that way too. I didn't know all of that about Cuba. I mean, I think I just never paid attention to it, There was yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And because I lived with my grandmother, right? And the older generation it's historian ish because they lived it,
Yeah.
right? So she would tell me the stories, and that's why I know. You So that's the reason why I know because she would tell me the stories and we would watch the Spanish news together, and that's the reason why I'm like informed.
Yeah.
And I think it's important, Lazina, because we both know that history repeats itself.
Mhm.
So we have to know, especially our own history, where we
Yeah.
came from, you know? It's a waste if we don't.
I agree. I mean, that's why like the generational trauma and breaking the cycles and stuff is just all things that I'm so heavily committed to because I see what you mean. When you say that you get to love somebody even though they have parts of them that aren't nice. It reminds me of that's really what unconditional love is. Like, being able to love them and not take on their ideals too. I love my grandmother and my grandfather. Like, I had really wonderful experiences similar to your grandmother and you. Like, my grandmother and I, we would get up every Tuesday and Thursday, and we didn't have electricity all the time. So we would cook our food the night before. We put it in this little container, like a canteen. And we would get up, and I grew up Muslim, so we would fast. So we'd get up in the morning, eat our food, and it would just be me and her with our little plates and stuff. And she taught me so much. But when the president of Guyana was black and he came to visit the island, and they chose me to put the garland over his head and I gave him a kiss on his cheek, she did not want to have anything to do with me because I kissed a black man. So it was like, you know,
Oh my
and I think
goodness.
it's like, especially when the language thing that we speak, right? Sometimes we tend to put people up on a pedestal. But I feel like in that situation, it wasn't a pedestal. It was like, I know that you're not perfect. I've seen her flaws. I've seen her be good and not so good, but I loved her and I felt loved by her. The relationship was still sacred to me, and it was just very loving.
Yeah, like the love still counts, even if it
Yeah.
came from someone who you don't agree with, it still
Yeah,
counts.
and that's you're absolutely right because it's so easy to hone on that one quality about somebody that we don't like. We carry it around, and every time we see them or we hear their name, we're like, but then, I think that's also why I started getting part of why my book came into fruition too, because I was like, yeah, we're dealing with a lot of inner child stuff. And there's these pockets of moments where resentment happened, where we learned that love wasn't safe. But at the same time, there was so much joy. Like I have so much joyful memories, and it was just blocked by these little moments, So it's like,
Yes,
go and find out what that joy meant. That's how
yes,
we meet our emotional need. That is
yes.
like, I love.
Lazina, one of the things that I learned in the course, and a lot of courses after doing them, like 50 of them, is the power of forgiveness. The power of forgiveness. Because when I didn't forgive, there was no space, there was no room for the joy. There was no room for the nice memories. There was no room for the, but they were like this. I always wanted to judge my fish by its ability to climb a tree, you know? I wanted to be like, why weren't you like this? You
Yeah.
know? And but once I started forgiving and I did the 70 times 7, and I did all those things and I learned to have boundaries because boundaries are just as important for
Mhm.
forgiveness. There was room for, hey, you know what? My dad was actually a good provider. My dad was actually, what kept, the would-be predators away. My mom loved me unconditionally. Yes, she had her drug problems and she had her stints with whatever, but she loved me
Yeah.
unconditionally. There was
You know
nothing that I was expected to do. You know what I mean? It was just love, 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 love. And
Yeah.
she gave me whatever she could when she could. But I couldn't see that because I was so angry
Yeah. Yeah.
and resentful.
Yeah, that is the truest thing you could have said. I really love the gifts from forgiveness. I love community and I didn't realize how much that was tied to my emotional needs. And when I thought about, okay, I like quality time. I love language. One of the top one is quality time. What does that really mean? It took me back to my childhood and the relationships that I had with my grandparents. My grandparents had 12 children and they adopted a couple more, so it was a really big family. So I love
Oh my
community.
goodness.
Whenever anybody say that I'm Samso's granddaughter, it came with so much pride. It was like I feel important.
I love that.
What I love about community, and so quality time and physical touch are the same always they're the same rating. They're identical. And it's because I had lots of hugs and love. My mom loved me. I was a teenager and I was upset with my mom because I felt like she didn't choose me and I felt betrayed by her. And I allowed that one experience to rob me of all of the beautiful things that I experienced with her. And 70 times 7, I can
Yeah.
someone has
Yeah.
that.
I know. I know.
When some
I know, girl. I know. That exercise is everything.
I
It's everything. I remember doing it and thinking, God, I can't believe I've been hanging on to this nonsense for so long. Certain things, other things, I was like, okay, I feel it losing steam, But there were certain things that I'm like, really? I've been holding on to that for so many years. That's just ridiculous. I gotta let him off the hook a little bit.
because who are we punishing anyway? So it's just us. We're the miserable
Yeah.
ones.
Yeah. 100%.
I didn't
100%.
I didn't
What is it that they say? Taking the poison, expecting the rat to die?
Yes, exactly. I didn't even attend my mom's 50th birthday party because I was so mad at her. Like, come on now. Come on.
My
I wasn't
goodness.
talking to her for like 8 years. Like, what in the world? Yeah,
Oh my
girl,
god. How's
I
your relationship now?
oh my god, that's my mommy. Like,
Oh, good. I'm glad.
yeah, she's been the best. Like, I mean, like you said, like I feel that unconditional love from her completely all the time. There's times when she drives me a little crazy because, like, of course, not everybody's perfect. Not in a way that it's like bad. It's in like, you know, my mom was 18 when she got arranged marriage to my dad. He was very abusive and like when I look at her life, I'm like, oh, she's still like a little 8-year-old girl.
Mm,
That's what I see. So it's like sometimes when she's being a little um I would say she wants connection. Not that's when I'm like, okay, mom, like what is this? Where is this coming from? Or what? Like I'm saying, those are the little moments when I'm annoyed with her. But other than that, like she's been there, especially when my marriage broke up. She was my biggest supporter.
mm,
Her heart
mm,
broke with mine. Like
mm,
and now when
mm,
I go to her house, I just feel like she makes me feel like I'm a little girl again. I go in there,
mm.
she's so excited to see me. She's got, like, food in the refrigerator that she's been saving every day for months, and we just, like, and she just loves to cuddle, and she likes when I sit on her. Sometimes she sit like, it's just like, you know,
Can you imagine all that you would have missed out on had you not forgiven her?
girl, I would have been very upset if she'd passed away, and I'm like, that would have still carried all this nonsense.
Oh, that would have been additional trauma. You were trauma layering there.
My god, I like that word, trauma layering. That is it's so powerful. Well, I am really excited for your book. I can't wait. I'm definitely gonna order myself a copy because I have to.
Thank you. It's called Searching for the Silver Lining. And basically, I feel like that pretty much sums up my life. And yeah, even at work, because I work with kids that have cancer. And a lot of people tell me, how can you do that? And I'm like, I've never worked a day in my life. I love my job. I feel like somebody has to do it. Obviously, I don't want to make kids cry, but someone has to do it. And if I can make it just a little easier, and I usually do, I do a good job with the kids as far as distracting them, making them forget where they are.
Yeah.
I'm just really silly with them. That's what basically comes down to,
Mhm.
being silly. They love that. And if I see ones that's chunky, I'm like, oh, this one's an eater. We're going to talk about food. Like, it's just easy to me, you know? And it's because I've just trained myself to search for the silver lining,
Yeah.
and a lot of the times when I start a sentence, I start it with at least, hey, at least, this, at least, because it could always be worse, right? It could always be better, but it can also be worse.
Uh,
So, personally, it might have been the way that I learned to minimize my feelings as a kid, to be honest. I like to think, and I might be wrong, that I managed to morph it into being an optimist.
Yeah, and I mean that's very good self-awareness because like, sometimes a thing that ends up being our superpower is really what we had to overcome in the first place within ourselves.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure.
But you
Yes.
I really have to compliment you though and acknowledge you that to be a nurse for cancer patients and now I'm understanding that it's for kids. I'm glad that they have you.
Uh,
I couldn't think of someone else that I would want for my children to if they I
no,
mean,
it won't. Yes, of course, of course.
I think that's really great that to have someone who looks at the silver lining, who values life, who is a nurturer and a caregiver in this way. I'm glad that they have you. I didn't know that it was I mean, as I'm listening to you, I'm like, wait, kids, okay, like oh my gosh, that's a powerful place to be. It makes me think of that movie with Robin Williams, Patch.
Patch Adams.
Yes.
Patch Adams. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, kids are amazing. They're amazingly resilient. They're also very distractible.
Yeah.
So, sometimes we get so deep in our funk that we don't even see, the rainbow in front of us. And I think that's why I put the rainbow in front of in my book, because the symbolism of it is that even when the skies were gray, there's still like a little rainbow. All I had to do was just kind of focus on that,
Yeah.
and let the dark clouds stay where they are, and that's okay. I'm not going to be able to move them,
Mhm.
but I can change what I focus on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of like the whole point. And, that's kind of what I do at work. I get the kids to focus on something else. We have this whole room of toys that they can pick from when they're done doing whatever it is that I had to do with them, accessing their port for,
Yeah.
chemotherapy or anesthesia or whatever. So that's what I try to get them to focus on. Like I said, if there's one that's chunky, then we talk about food.
Mhm.
I just get really silly. We sing a song. We do anything but focus on the bad thing that's happening.
Yeah.
And as a nurse, I don't think about the big picture all the time. Half the time, I don't even want to know what the diagnosis is, because for the purposes of what we're doing that day, my job is the same.
Yeah.
Give them, get IV access somehow, give them the certain medication, and whether or not their prognosis is good or bad, or it doesn't affect me that day,
Yeah.
and that's all I can focus on. And medicine is great in the sense that a lot of it is evidence-based practice, meaning it's a lot of trial and error, and there's no judgment. There's only what works and what doesn't work.
Mhm. Yeah.
So it's a really good kind of framework. And I wish that humans in general, we could adopt this way of thinking. Is something working or not?
Mhm.
Forget about whether it's, our judgment. In other words, like for example, marriage is a great example of that. Is the way that our society currently structured working or not? If marriage rates are an indicator, I would say that it's probably not. And And medicine is like that,
Yeah.
we don't like one medicine more than another. We don't have a preference, we don't have a judgment. Is one medicine,
It's just your
awesome, and the other one
yeah.
is just based on results,
Yeah.
based on. And I think that if we could do that for all our human afflictions, we'd be a lot better off.
Yeah, I mean, that's I'm with you there. Speaking to my heart, because I that's the whole reason why I created the repair framework too, because it's like let's focus on what is working, because
Mhm.
amplify that. Like if I have this limiting belief that was set in since I was 7 years old and I became an adult who have a protective teenager that's running the show, then the next person I meet probably have the same thing and the other person have the same thing. So how do we make sure that we're not hurting each other in the space of enjoying life's journey? How do we make it actually work, you know? That's yeah.
But I think, Lazine, I think the challenge lies in getting people, or in getting ourselves to admit that we did something wrong,
Shame.
or that we were wrong.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
the reason why I started going to the course is because I was just dating losers, loser after loser after loser.
You know,
And I was
medically.
like, at the risk of, shaming myself to death here,
Yeah.
obviously the common denominator here
It's
is
me.
me.
Let me see what I'm doing wrong.
It's not an arranged date.
Yeah.
I did this to myself. So what am I doing? And I
Yeah.
think that if we could do that, if we could use that language, like you
Mhm.
say, and repair our relationships, even with ourselves,
The first and foremost, self.
right? Instead of beating ourselves up.
Yeah, we fear abandonment so much that we end up abandoning ourselves in the whole process. My goodness. But yeah, I mean, I think, it takes people like us, to share that message. And I like that you're doing it in your book. It's one way of reaching a lot of different hearts who can, have a different perspective. Look at the
Thank you.
silver lining. It's there.
Thank you. Thank you. And one of the reasons why I did it, Lazina, is because, like I said, my parents both struggled with a lot of drug problems. And when I went to like those Al Anon meetings, and,
Mhm.
and those meetings for family members, there was a lot of parents that were struggling with their kids being users. But I didn't see a lot of normal people struggling with their parents being users, like adults, And I really, yes, yes, because usually, if your parents been abusing drugs, you're abusing drugs. And I was lucky enough that I had my grandmother in the middle of
She
the
was like,
mix.
no.
Yeah, and she didn't do it on purpose. She
Yeah.
never told me you're not going to use drugs or anything like that, but I just saw her living life differently, And I said that's what I want. So, but the point that I was trying to make was just that, I just wanted to focus on something different.
Mhm.
And when I went to those meetings, I didn't have people my age. I just didn't feel like there was people I could connect to. And one of the reasons why I wrote the book was that, hey, if there's anybody out there, anybody, hello,
Your mama
that
I
can
do drugs too because I need some
I
content.
need somebody to tell me I know you. I know you. Yeah, you do. Yay. So selfishly, Lazina, selfishly, that's another reason why I wrote the book. Because I wanted someone to be able to say, even though we say it in the course all the time, right? The story is different, but the feelings are the same, right? We say that all the time.
The time.
But it would be nice for someone to be like, man, my story is actually similar to you. So.
I feel like that's something that will resonate with a lot of people. I mean, when you said it, it hit me. I was like, oh, she's right, because there's so much shame that comes with it. And like you said, then people are becoming users because even if they are users themselves, there's still that experience of what they went through. And so I think that will resonate with a lot of people. I can see that.
Yeah, and I want to meet other people that have gotten out of it, that have broken the cycle. Like you say, it's one thing to meet, a user, like you said, that uses the things that they happen to them as an excuse to continue using. That's one kind of person. But I want to meet the kind of person that has been through something similar and has overcome it, or is trying to overcome it, because it is a lifelong struggle, my
Yeah.
friend. It is a lifelong struggle. It's not, "Hey, I'm over it now. We're
Yeah.
moving on." No,
Yeah.
it doesn't.
That's one of the things I always say, like, people always say, "Oh, so you're healed," and it's like, there's no such thing as a healed person, it's a journey, it takes intention every day to you can easily go back and make a mistake or do something, and then, of course, there's grace and compassion for those parts of us too, but it is a daily I mean, it becomes better. You see things differently. There's more joy, there's more fulfillment, there's more gratitude, there's more presence, but at the same time, they're, you know, the feelings are still there.
Yeah, I mean, you're not trauma layering, right? We're not doing this.
Right.
But life continues. Life continues to hit us. And at least we're not being hit while we're down.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because if there's anything that I've learned from my patients is that, and I learned this early on, is that just because life hits you once hard doesn't mean that it won't turn around and hit you again.
Mm.
I mean, there's no kind of like order for justice. There isn't any of that. There's just randomness as far as who gets what. You just never know
Yeah.
when life is going to hit you. Look at these poor parents that I'm sure never ever thought that they'd find themselves in a situation selling everything they had, businesses, homes, everything, a lot of them from other countries, to come and get treatment here with us just for a little bit more time. Just for a little bit more time because some of these diagnoses, Laziena, are terminal. And they sell everything they have just for a little bit more time. And I'm sure they never expected that. But life doesn't stop just because you had a bad diagnosis. The bills continue to come in. The health of our other family members can suffer. We can lose our car. We can lose our house. I mean, some of the things that people go through, it's really astonishing that they're
Yeah.
up and walking around.
You're right. And it's being able to get to that space where we can flow with it. It's not against us anymore. We're not swimming against the current. We're just a part of it, the experience. And that's so, like, it's heartwarming and sad at the same time because when you are doing something so incredibly life changing, and I can't imagine getting upset because someone cut you off. You know what I mean? Because it's like, at that point, that doesn't even matter.
100%. If there's anything that my job does for me is makes me not sweat the small stuff.
Yeah.
Really, the when I got married the last time, I remember the guy from the salon was like, "Do you want gold napkins? Do you want red napkins? Do you want this? Do you want that?" And I was like, "I don't care, whatever you think. I don't care, whatever you think." And he's like, "Don't you care about anything?" And I said, "Listen, I work in an ICU with dying children, whether the curtain is purple or red or, the lighting is high or low, it does not really gonna affect. Doesn't matter. I trust whatever your judgment is. It's not that important." And he was so frustrated with me. But that's really how I live my life. I mean, I'm human. I get upset. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, especially with my kids,
Yeah.
they suffer. They suffer the brunt of it.
Hey, you know what?
Unfortunately.
There's a course that they can attend where they can heal their mommy
Yes, ma'am, there is.
that will teach them the power of forgiveness.
And we are starting another cycle. Don't you love that? That's a cycle I don't mind continuing. That's
Generational
one that I
blessings.
don't mind.
Yeah. It's like, we are always talking about generational curses. I'm like, well, I'm changing that. I'm transforming the cycles and creating generational blessings. That's one
Amen,
time.
sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. That's the goal.
Yeah.
So thank you so much for having me on the podcast. I really appreciated talking with you, speaking the same language, understanding, and having like-minded people.
Yeah.
You're the reason why I wrote this book, having people that understand.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. Well,
Absolutely.
I'm glad that you came on. I reserve the right to bother you again and be like, "Hey, let's do another one." I'm excited.
Absolutely.
I'm really excited for your book. It's already amazing. It's gonna be even better.
Thank you.
And on that note, I will wrap up today. And if anyone wants to buy your book, Amazon, right? There we
Yes.
go.
Serve.
I will make sure to include that in the show notes so that we can get that out there too.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, enjoy the rest of your evening. I'm going to end our podcast for our listeners, our viewers. If anything that Janet has said today resonates with you, please share, like, subscribe, go follow her, get on her book, and we'll see you on the next one.